Hey friends. I I've had an interesting experience the last couple of mornings because I spoke a few weeks ago, I think, about kind of a random thing for me to be talking about on my post, but cold showers. I was talking about cold showers, and I think this was coming out of the experience that I had of doing a coaching session with my coach, coaching me, and she gave me a really good reflection and on a couple of things, and it had that effect of a cold shower, right? It's kind of like, and I talked about how when you take a cold shower, my experience of taking a cold shower, you kind of have to stick with it. But my experience of taking a cold shower is often I'll turn on that cold water, or I usually start hot and then turn it to cold, and it hits your system, and all of a sudden there's this kind of, shock response, which diminishes over time. But instantly my body starts adjusting. It's like my core, I connect with my core. My spine aligns, and my whole system comes into alignment and integrity. And that sometimes takes a couple of seconds, or it usually happens pretty quick, but it happens. But as it happens, the feeling of cold pretty much goes away, to the point where usually after no more than 20, 30 seconds, I can stand there essentially indefinitely under freezing cold water and just feel totally comfortable. But in order to get to that place, my system has to energize, my system has to align. It has to actually come into integrity, come into the place where it's engaged. My system has to engage. And I was in the book 4,000 Weeks, the author, Oliver Burkeman, talks about a young American who went over, I think like psychology PhD student who went over to Japan to study Zen. He wanted to join a monastery, and they were really skeptical, and they initially just made him do this ritual of dumping pails of cold water over himself in the freezing cold outdoors, way more intense than a cold shower. And sort of, of course, it was agony for a long time, but then little by little he sort of began to understand, I need to not resist these sensations. As long as I'm resisting the sensation of cold, it becomes intolerable. But as soon as I start paying attention to the sensation of cold, as soon as I start listening, feeling, actually almost leaning into the feeling of this frigid dousing in the middle of the winter outdoors with a pail of water that freezes as it hits your skin, if you can imagine the intensity of that, willingly engaging with those sensations made them tolerable. And that's exactly my experience. That's, I think, a kind of like watered down, no pun intended, version of that is what I experience in my cold showers. Now you know about my showers. Now I've shared everything. But that so that effect on my system, I started experimenting with standing in my morning yoga practice and wondering, what would it feel like? What would my system be doing if I were having a cold shower right now? And I noticed I could actually recreate the sensation of a cold shower energetically. I can feel, I can probably do it right now. I can feel what my system experiences as cold hits it, as that kind of shockingly cold water hits it. I can feel that anytime. I can take an energetic cold shower anytime I want to. And the effect is exactly the same as a real cold shower. My system goes, oh, here we are. Things align. The core kind of like activates. The spine goes, oh, this is how I have to be. Habits of like leaning, compulsive tension, things we get into, almost all of us have some degree of that. But those things, they kind of, your system can override them. Your system can actually transcend them when it knows, like when it means business. When it's like, okay, here we are, folks. Freezing cold water hitting us. Let's all hands on deck now. Let's get here. And it's been a really fun thing to play with over the past couple weeks, because it's kind of like this it's like a little burst I can give myself anytime. I'm particularly conscious of it when I'm doing yoga, because I'm focusing on my bodily sensations, I'm focusing on my alignment, right? I'm already kind of like connecting with my physical system. But so that's kind of where it started. But I've noticed it now. I can be standing in the kitchen and take a cold shower. I can be doing laundry and take a cold shower. I can just give my system that recollection of, okay. And so it's almost like a felt sense memory of the experience that activates a sort of full system response towards integrity and towards alignment. And it is immediately energizing. It's incredibly, what I kind of couldn't believe was how well it worked. And then the other thing I noticed was I go and take my cold showers in the evening, and it takes me, I'm there, like before the water even hits me. It's like my system kind of goes, oh, I know where we're going, and just turns on. And the adjustment period is very short. There's not a lot of discomfort. So I'm throwing a lot of concepts out, but this idea of receiving what we're feeling and actually willingly leaning into seemingly unpleasant sensations, right? When you initially turn frigid cold water on your body, your kind of unconscious response is, this is highly unpleasant. It's not really the case. It's just what we're kind of conditioned. We're not expecting it. Our system isn't ready for it. Whatever. That can be the case with any impulse or any experience that we're having. It can be extremely unpleasant. It can feel shocking. It can feel like it's pulling us, like it's violating us. Leaning into it and actually kind of grabbing hold of it, ingesting the experience, being willing to be present with it, it just changes everything. It changes the whole nature of our system's ability to withstand and to sort of hold up under it, right? So this was really fun to recognize and to start to practice just in moments throughout my day. So I think, maybe there are other versions of that for people that you can develop for yourself. But this idea of taking something that aligns your system and then giving yourself a little energetic dose of it can be powerful. It can give us a massive tool for staying in alignment, for bringing ourselves to alignment, for noticing when we're out. So yeah, I offer you that on this lovely Sunday. Thanks for watching, folks. Appreciate you. Have a wonderful day. So much love. I will see you very soon.